So let me install this AWS CLI. So why I need this AWS CLI? Why do I require AWS CLI? So in order to communicate with the ECR node, you should have AWS CLI configured. So install AWS CLI. And next AWS configure. So I'll keep my credentials ready. So you know, right, how to create IAM credentials. Configure. And next, check the connection, whether you can be able to connect to the AWS console. So I can be able to connect. And now go to your ECR. So this is my ECR. This is my ECR. So I have created a public repository. Click on view push commands. Log into the ECR. So copy this command. Don't change anything. Just as it is, copy paste. So it is saying Docker is not installed. So let's install Docker. So the installation of Docker commands is pasted in my GitHub repository. So you can see them in DevOps installations. Go to Docker. So installations file. You have these commands, copy paste. So Docker is installed. And guys, see, this time while you are pushing the image to ECR, you have to specify which architecture does it belong to. See, in images there will be some ARM images, AMD images, etc. So for deploying in ECR, it will specifically ask to build in Linux AMD version or ARM version. See, while installing any packages also, it will be asking what is the architecture. So if you go to your Windows architecture, it will be like x86 architecture something. So there will be two like architectures, ARM and AMD. So you have to be selecting AMD operating systems. So ARM operating systems are not supported. You have to be selecting AMD architectures. So for building the particular image also, so I have a command here. So just replace the values with the appropriate image and Docker file. So everything is installed. Now I'll create a Docker file. So vi Docker file. So from, just a moment guys. from what I have to do, Nginx will build latest network issue, run and let me use copy. So index file is not yet created, but I will create it after the Docker file. And next run service nginx restart, save and exit. So let me create a index file. So we already have index file which we asked the ChatGPT yesterday. So let's use the same HTML page. And next docker build -t. So for building you can make use of this command. So you can use this command and replace the values. So what values I need to change here? The name of your Docker image. So it is nginx my image I will give. v1 I will give. Docker file. Okay, so it should be capital letters, right? Okay, Docker file is created, image is created. So Docker images are created. So we'll test the image first. So Docker run -d-p. So let me give port 80 only. So image is working, so it converted to container. So let's test the image. So for that, go to EC2, copy the public IP address and ping. So application is working fine. Now push this image to Docker Hub. So before pushing, I need to convert the image into tag. So copy this and change the names accordingly. So what is the name of the Docker image? Nginx v1 is the name of my Docker image, and Nginx my image v1. And after creating, push the image to Docker Hub. So how to check the images, what and all created? Docker images, if you check, see there is a tag also created here. You need to push along with this tag. Docker push tag name and the image name. So this will get pushed into your ECR. So not authorized because I haven't logged in yet. Okay, login succeeded. Let's push. Pushed. So go to ECR, check for the image, whether this is created. So image has been created and pushed. Hey guys, please don't make noise. Girls only talking, I don't know who's talking. So image has been pushed. So now let's proceed to ECS. So this is my ECS. So click on get started, create cluster. So I'll give the name of the cluster as my ECS cluster, and this time we'll go with EC2. So let's create a new security group on demand. Let's keep everything default, and here guys I have created a specific role for EC2 instance to connect with ECS. So how to create this role? For this you have to go to IAM. So in the IAM, go to roles, see this is the role which I created, ECS to EC2 role. So how do you create this? Click on create role, select AWS service, and in the use case it should be EC2, and scroll down, click on next. So this has to be communicating with ECS, so type ECS and select full access and create a role. So this is how you create a role, but in my case, instead of selecting ECS full access, I have selected admin full access. I have selected administrator access, so that if anything goes wrong, if any no communication will be there, so admin access will try to provide the full access. So like this, give a proper name for it and click on create role. A role will be created. So once the role is created, that same role will get reflected here. The same role will get reflected here. So like this I have created a role, and drop down the EC2 instance role, select the role, and maximum instances, so let's keep it 1, minimum 1 and maximum 1. And see this, I think this option is disabled for everyone. I have checked with 2 to 3 persons also, it is disabled. So even though this is disabled, you can proceed. So since yesterday it was enabled, but I don't know why they have removed this. So anyways, even though there is no SSH key pair, you can add the key pair later if you wanted to connect. But anyways, we are not going to connect to that particular EC2 instance. So let ECS itself will do the task. So I'm not giving any SSH keys. Now select your VPC, subnets and security group. You will be already having a default security group. So select default security group, and auto assign public IP address should be turned on. So without public IP address, it's quite difficult. So even without SSH also, it can be fine, your EC2 instance will come up, but without public IP address, your application will be not reachable. So select and switch to turn on and click on create. So this will try to create a cluster. So along with the cluster, a dedicated EC2 instance also will be created. So you can see it in the cloud formation. I'm not opening it, you can watch it later. So in the ECS cluster, if you go to infrastructure, in the infrastructure there will be an EC2 instance created. So let's wait for a while until this is completely done. You will be seeing a EC2 instance here. So until this EC2 instance comes up, let's create task definitions. And by the time we'll come up from task definitions, your EC2 instance will be ready. So go to task definitions. So I'll close this tab because I don't require this, and even this is also not required, and now this also not required. I'll close the unnecessary tabs. See, an EC2 instance has been created and even attached also. And if you go to EC2 instances, you will find a new EC2 instance here. So your new EC2 instance has been created. Now we'll go create a task definition. So here is the task definition. So create task definition. So task definition family name should be ECS EC2 task definition, which is TD. And infrastructure requirements, it's not Fargate, it's EC2 instances. So operating system. So guys, careful, network mode should not be AWS VPC, because AWS VPC, what it will do, it will restrict your public access. So instead of AWS VPC, go for bridge connection, or you can go for default connection. So recommended, select network mode as a bridge. Okay. And next, task size, CPU volume is 1 volume of CPU, 3 GB of RAM. And task role, it is already created while the cluster is created. So select the task. And next, container. So here it is asking the container names. So on what name you wanted your container to be created. So let's give